If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. We're going to do things to Nigeria that Nigeria is not going to be happy about and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible, horrible atrocities. I'm hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. These are cherished people. These are great people. Leave them alone. Warning, the Nigerian government better move fast before it's too late. If they don't, there's going to be hell to pay.
Trump's engagement began after he saw a segment on Fox News about the treatment of Christians in Nigeria. His response was swift and public. Now, what did he say? He posted, "Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands of Christians are being killed. Radical Islamists are responsible for this mass slaughter and warned, if we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians." Now, there's an official action. It designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern on religious freedom and ordered the Pentagon to prepare for possible action. Now, President Bola Tinubu from Nigeria quickly responded. They responded with shock and defiance, firmly rejecting Trump's characterization and defending our national sovereignty. A spokesman called Trump's statement a threat and affirmed that confronting violent extremists will make Nigeria come out stronger. A nuanced reality. President Tinubu stated, "Religious freedom and tolerance have been a core tenet of our collective identity and shall always remain so. Nigeria opposes religious persecution and does not encourage it. The government's position is that the country is battling extremists trying to divide the country rather than presiding over a religious purge." I don't blame President Tinubu for responding in such a way. Now, is this genocide or is this propaganda? Let's dissect the narrative. So the central claim of a Christian genocide is fiercely debated, depending on who you listen to. The reality on the ground is far more complex than a simple religious war. Now, if you look at the Christian genocide argument, what are the statistics? A report from the Nigerian NGO Inter-Society claims that over 7,000 Christians were unalived in the first 220 days of 2025 alone, an average of 35 minds paid, which is terrible. Some groups estimate that 125,000 Christians have been murdered since 2009, and advocates point to the systematic nature of attacks on Christian communities, church burnings, and mass abductions such as the 2014 Chibok schoolgirls kidnapping by Boko Haram as evidence of a deliberate campaign. Now, there is a counter narrative, right, of indiscriminate terror. Analysts and media reports emphasize that groups like Boko Haram and ISWAP are fundamentally opposed to the Nigerian state and by indiscriminately. The majority of Boko Haram's victims have been Muslims, they say, in the predominantly Muslim north, whom the group deems not pious enough. Now, there are multifaceted drivers. The violence is not solely religiously motivated. It is fueled by a toxic mix of factors, including communal and ethnic tensions, disputes between farmers and herders over dwindling natural resources, criminal banditry, and political grievances. One opinion piece argues that reducing this to a Muslim versus Christian conflict is a dangerous oversimplification, which I agree with. Because they're making it seem as if it's just Christians versus Muslims. No, this thing is deeper than that. It's multifaceted, it's nuanced, right? And you can't just call it. I'm not saying there isn't genocide. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Christians haven't been unalived. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying Nigerians have also been unalived. That's the main thing here. And we're trying to narrow it down to just Christians versus Muslims, which is very, very, in a country as polarized as Nigeria. Now, Muslims may be the majority victims in some contexts. Christians may be also some victims in some other contexts, right? They've been trying to destabilize the state with violence as a tool against all opponents. So they're different. You see, let me just go into the political and financial elements of this video. So beneath the surface of religious rhetoric lie powerful political and financial currents that fuel and shape this conflict. Let's go to US domestic politics. President Trump's stance is closely aligned with his evangelical Christian base and influential conservative figures. People like Senator Ted Cruz, who has been a vocal proponent of designating Nigeria as a violator of religious freedom. The threat of military action appears to be, in part, an art of the deal type strategy to force Nigeria's government to respond. They're looking for Nigeria's trouble. Financial stakes and aid. Trump explicitly threatened to immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. I have a different view on that. And if the government did not act, this use of financial leverage is a direct pressure tactic. Furthermore, Trump's earlier authorization of arms sales to Nigeria is cited as an example of existing security cooperation that could be at risk. Now you have resource-based conflict. A significant portion of the violence stems from long simmering clashes between predominantly Muslim Fulani herders and farmers from diverse groups, many who are Christian. In Nigeria's Middle Belt, these conflicts are fundamentally driven by competition over land and water, pollution pressures, and climate change, which no one is talking about, with the religious demographic divide, creating a misleading facade of a holy war. Is this a holy war? Please leave your comments down below. Please share this, watch this, and like this video. There's a lot going on. The story of Nigeria's pain cannot be contained in a single headline or a 280-character post. This is a story of real people of all faiths caught in a vortex of violence with many causes. To call it simply a genocide may ignore the suffering of millions of Muslim victims. To dismiss the targeted killing or buying of Christians is to be blind to a horrific truth. As the world watches and foreign powers weigh the intervention, the ultimate challenge falls to Nigeria itself to confront these terrorists, these criminals, and the underlying grievances to prove that its strength lies not in the division of its people, but in its unity, our unity. And I know I even talked about China has also spoken and advised the US to go through diplomatic channels. But China should have put an extra line there to also say that Nigeria needs to sort out this insecurity because people are being unalived on a daily basis, and this needs to be sorted out. This needs to be sorted out. The channels who do their thing. I'm not going to, if the US want the US to come to Nigerian soil, I want the US to, where they can, and help us, where they can help us with military assistance in terms of technology, in terms of intelligence, not sending troops. That's not what we need. That's not what we need. Yes, Nigerian government, Nigerian military need to work together, as well as all these things we're hearing about amnesty to people who are being considered to be terrorists. It's not helpful. It's not the way to go. We need to sort out our internal issues. That's the bottom line here. We need to sort out our internal issues. I'm going to leave this one here. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and comment, and I'll see you in the next video.